Coming up on today's show.
When students see it here and not here, it almost is that they're not responsible. It's almost like it's not theirs.
When you can visualize something,
Yes.
you commit yourself to it.
When they don't write their homework down and they're not seeing the big picture.
How to help your student own their time and responsibility. Part 2, today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Last time we had an incredible conversation going on about how to teach your student time management and responsibility. And we flat ran out of time because we're trying to be good time managers. So we decided to go into a second episode here, bringing back Leslie Josell, Order Out of Chaos. Leslie, how are you doing?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me back.
Awesome. Well, we love having you back. We'd like to have you on every week if we could, but we know your time is pretty crazy. You've got so much going on. And just to kind of recap, I want to do a little recap of the last episode. In case someone didn't hear it, they can always go back and listen to it again. But we started this concept about teaching your child responsibility, really, first of all, and that does involve time management. So you want to just kind of give us a couple refresher points. You know, we talked about the waffle concept and a couple other things, scaffolding, you know, all these word pictures. Let's just summarize what we talked about in the last episode.
So what we talked about in the last episode is, I think if we were going to take it all and drill it down, was I like the concept of raising problem solvers and not direction followers. That when parents come to me all the time and say, I want my child to be able to do this and that, whether it's get up in the morning or their own homework. But what we find a lot is that the student, you know, the parent is doing very much of the do you have and did you do and you should be. And what happens is that the child maybe might do the things, but they don't have any ownership of it. And more importantly, they don't have any awareness. If you're telling your child, get this, go here, do this, do that, that whole time management piece is missing. That whole even responsibility piece is missing. They're almost removing themselves from the process. They're basically just having you point them in the right direction to go off. So to build those skills, really to build time management, is you start, believe it or not, creating time awareness. So instead of saying we're leaving in 10 minutes, it's, do you know what time we have to be at soccer practice? Do you know how long it takes us to get there? Okay, 15 minutes. When do we need to leave? Okay, great. How are you going to remember that? By turning that table, what I've done is now all of a sudden, now that doesn't happen overnight. That takes a lot of skill on both the parents and the child's end. But you have to start asking your child questions. What do you need? Where do you need to be? What time is that at? Because until you do that whole time management, time awareness, that whole what I call living in the now versus the not now is elusive.
Right.
It's completely elusive.
Well, I think the younger generation doesn't want to really own anything anyway. So, I mean, they rather...
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that is a whole other podcast. But so we talked also about the visualization and the time blocking kind of concept. Get into a little bit of a review of that as well.
You mean how to block your time so you can see. So it goes back again. We've spoken many times on this podcast, you and I and even a million other organizers about organizing. And with students, what I have found, this is my own thing, this isn't research proven. I find that my students pick up the organizing a lot faster than they do the time management. And I feel it's because with the organizing, it's very tangible. It's very tactile. They find maybe a binder system that works, or a folder, or an accordion, or, the great products you all make, something that hits them because they can see it. And then they can, they use it and the organizing starts to fall into place. Time management, not so much. It's very hard to see time. We know that, but time is a beginning, a middle, all of that stuff. So I always start with the concept when I'm talking to parents or students or even educators that a student has to be able to see their time before they can be expected to manage it.
Right.
And how do you do that? It's the same concept as adults. Adults have appointments and they have a to-do list.
Yes.
And those two things have to be married for us to be able to be efficient in our time awareness and our time planning.
Well, we have to bring up the academic planner. We cannot talk to you okay, because, and we'll have links to this in our show notes for people who want to get a hold of this. But I think that's what you've successfully done here. You've married the two together.
Exactly. So for students, it's your homework and projects and tests are your to-do list.
Yep.
And their after school activities or even before school activities are their appointments. It's the same concept for students. You need to marry what homework and tests they have, but with what else they're doing as well, so that they can see, there's that C word again, available blocks of time to know when they have the time to get things done.
Right.
If they don't see time, they don't know they have field hockey practice, play rehearsal, grandma's 80th birthday. So they might be thinking, hey, it's Monday. That test is Thursday. I got all the time in the world. But not if you don't see that you have all of those other commitments.
Right.
And we have a patent design that allows students to fill in what they have going on, and then all of a sudden natural blocks of time pop out of them. It's really fantastic.
Right.
If they fill in the planner, the work is done for them.
Right. So now I know part of what you do, though, is you also work with the parents. So kind of talk about that dynamic of coaching them and getting the student into the planner. And then probably, I would imagine that some of the parents probably want to use the planner too, don't they?
Yeah, because, well, it's funny. Yes, I do. That's why we created the second version of the planner.
Okay.
The second version of the planner is smaller. So we're seeing older students and adults really kind of glob onto it because, it's not 8.5 by 11. It's a little smaller. It's pocket size. That's the smaller. That's a smaller version. You can fit it in a tote.
Right.
But what really I love about that planner is it gives everyone full day capabilities for planning.
Right.
So you start at 8 o'clock in the morning and it goes till about 8, 9 o'clock at night, because it's not an adult planner. Adults are using it,
Right.
but we're finding as older students have commitments before school. We have college students who need the full day planning capability.
Right. I wanted to ask you about the little sticker thing that comes in the back. What exactly is that used for? It wasn't obvious for me.
Okay, so what's patent on the planner is the design.
Okay.
And if you notice, your subject, you have a class where you see that little thing right there?
Yep, right here. Yep.
You only have to write your classes in once. And then your assignment pages are shorter. So a student doesn't have to rewrite.
Right. Okay.
But let's say you have a student that changes classes mid-year.
Okay.
So we wanted them to be able to take those labels. They can put a label right over one of the subject boxes. And now that you can even show it.
Then you would take the label off and you put it over the subject box.
And now you can write in, if you haven't, example, my son is a senior in high school, just graduated, but mid-year he switched classes. So he took his labels, put them on, and wrote in his new classes for the semester. Right. College students, there are students that have, classes 3 times a year they change. There are students that in college change twice a year. The labels help to keep it pristine and clean.
Now, you have been developing this over how many years now? Because we've talked about this, I know, for a few years. And it kind of changes a little bit every year. When was why did you even design this in the first place?
So I designed the first one I am so blessed, and people use that word a lot, but I didn't design this to take it to market and do all this. I designed it because I call it reactionary entrepreneurship. I could not find a planner on the market that would help me teach my students time management, a planner that would show them their time. And I would cut and paste, and I finally printed up a few, and people came a-calling, do you have? And then it kind of took on a life of its own. Right. And every year we finesse it and, make it better and add things to it that we feel the students need and want. But over the last 2 years, the one thing we were hearing from, we call it our community over at Order Out of Chaos, was, can you make a smaller version that has a full day capability for planning? Because when we originally designed it, we thought of younger students into early, but now we're seeing college kids. There's been all of this new research done that college students are going back to paper planners. So we wanted to get in on that.
Absolutely. What?
So that is really a great planner for a college student as well as a high school student.
Well, I know, I think it was 2 years ago, you sent us a sample of your planner. I took it home, and one of my high school kids used it. They loved it. They thought, I mean, it really helped because it also, like you say, it gives them a view of the time, helped them with their school assignments. So I actually looked at, oh, this is paper is due. But then it also showed like when their work schedule was and that kind of thing, and it really I thought it was great, and they loved it too. And it's paper, so it's not on an iPhone or something like that.
No,
so
and I'm my biggest thing. You know this. I speak all over, and my biggest push and pull is this whole everything's online, and I understand that. Particularly if you have a child that maybe has writing challenges, focusing challenges, all of that. I know that. I own one of those.
Right.
But here's the problem that we're seeing more and more with homework being online. That whole writing to commit it. The writing commits to memory.
Yes.
We know that. When students see it here and not here, it almost is that they're not responsible. It's almost like it's not theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to write it. Oh, okay, it's there, but it's not here. I feel like when they don't write their homework down, and they're not seeing the big picture.
Right. Well, and yet all those things with goal setting, it's so important to write things down. You commit to it. And I think back to your idea of visualization too, when you can visualize something, you commit yourself to it. Listen, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to actually go through how you would set one of these up for a new student, and we'll just kind of take a step by step. So we're with Leslie Josell, Order Out of Chaos, talking about how to help your student, teach them to get more responsible and understand time management within the scope of responsibility. So we'll be right back.
Introducing Justic by Smead, a new line of award-winning bulletin boards, whiteboards with clear overlay and commercial signage solutions, powered by Justic Surface Technology. Say goodbye to pins, tape, glue, or magnets, and say hello to the most advanced bulletin board. The magic happens with only 4 AA batteries. Electrical energy flows throughout the entire surface of the board to attract a variety of materials. Simply place your materials on the surface, and they just stick. As featured on NBC's Today Show.
Our tech expert, Katie Linendahl's got it all.
This is just stick. No tape, no staples, no push pins. You just take whatever you need, and it sticks right onto the device.
Just like that.
Using electro-adhesion technology for AA batteries.
We got a big version here.
Yeah, we got a big version. I think this is kind of just fun for the office, right?
I love that.
Cool.
For the home or office, choose from modern aluminum frames or frameless options to display anything from photos, memories, reminders, illustrations, training materials, and more. Finally, a solution that lets you stand out and be uniquely expressive. Justic by Smead, displaying today with tomorrow's technology.
We are back now and keeping you organized. Part 2 of our great epic 2-part podcast. Leslie Josell, we love it, but there's never enough time. But we're talking about time management. But you have a lot to offer, and
you can't say that there's never enough time.
I know, it's a cop out, isn't it? Yeah. Well, listen, before the break, I teased the fact that I really think we should kind of just walk through a basic setup. Say someone's new to using your planner. What are some of the basic things they need to do? And then kind of parallel that with the thinking behind it, why they're doing it, and what it's teaching. Because I think that's it's not just another system. There's a lot of thought behind this, and I think that's what we really want to get to, right? So, and for those of you listening to the podcast, you're gonna have to go to our podcast page, smead.com/podcast, and watch the visual version of this. We'll do our best to describe it, but that is one of the helpful benefits of watching this on video as well. So, all right.
So I'm going to give you the walkthrough, but
okay.
I want to give a shout out to, I want to kind of give a plug to one thing that we have on our website.
Okay.
We did this year, we upgraded everything, and we put together a cartoon video. It's actually my son and me. And it's a 2-minute explainer video that really explains not only how the planner works, but the thought, as you said, what is the pain, like what is the problem, the challenges that kids face, and why this planner actually solves them. And it's very cute. It takes my son through a week of, oh my God, I didn't remember I had this, that, and this. And then me pulling my hair out of my head and handing him this planner so that he can now finally see when he has everything going on in his world.
Great.
So
So
that's-
we'll definitely link to that. Those are fun too.
Very fun.
So
It's fun. It's a very fun video. So here's the beauty of this planner and why it's very simple to use. When you open up the planner, you will notice that, okay, and it comes in multitude of colors.
Okay.
But
Yes.
go to the page. No, that's just some stuff like pointers. But I want to go to that's a planner guide. So it
Okay.
actually shows you visually how the planner will look if you use it the way you want to use it. So as you can see, the classes are on the left. So the first thing the student is going to do is write in all their classes that they have. Our smaller version allows them to have 6 classes. Our bigger version has 7. And then what you're going to do, you can turn the pages,
All right.
is you're going to start adding in on the bottom where we have the planning capabilities down here. It's hard to see, but it's from 8 in the morning and it takes you to 9 o'clock at night. And but I want you to go to the assign, like the actual weekly calendar page.
Okay. This one right here this is in July.
Perfect. And
Perfect.
it's July.
Okay. Yeah.
So what I want you to see there is that you can start planning 8 o'clock in the morning. So let's say you have a meeting with a professor before school starts. Let's say you go to the gym in the morning. And then let's say you can write in a meeting with your guidance counselor during the day. You can write in, and then of course at the end of the day, soccer practice, tutoring, play rehearsal, a multitude of things.
Right.
But what I love about it is once you have everything set up, what'll happen, what you will see, and maybe we should go back to the planner. Let's go back to the one that shows the one I did as a mock
Okay.
planner would look like. I think that's better. There you go. Can you notice on the planner, there's available blocks of time that are in white, and you can see somebody's handwriting. So here's what's the beauty of it. If your child has 2 tests on Friday, and you can see right here, they have 2 tests on Friday, but they don't have that bottom part to actually write in what they have to do, not only homework wise or what they have to do after school or before school, they will never know when they have time to get all of their work done. So the beauty of this is that just natural blocks of time appear. Your child can look at it and actually start scheduling. So for example, if they have those 2 tests on Friday, but they are gone all day Thursday at play rehearsal, they're not going to be able to get much studying done then. So they need to look at their Wednesday, which as you can see, there's a lot of natural available time. But if you don't put that information in the planner, you'll never see it. Or more likely, most planners on the market don't even allow a student to have those capabilities. They don't allow them to see their week at a glance, marrying their to-dos as well as their appointments.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up that point. I think I love, and I don't know, maybe you have a research or the week at a glance thing versus looking at a daily calendar. Any thoughts on that or psychology behind that?
I'm not a big day at a glance. I think in our planner, we give a student a weekly glance and a monthly glance.
Okay.
But particularly students as they get older, it's not only about today. We want to connect them. I call it connecting the now and the not now.
Right.
Students have to, and it's a very hard thing to teach, but we want students to realize that a project they have due next week might actually have to be start working on now, because if they look at that week, they see, I'm going to visit my sister at college for the weekend. Friday night is the play. Thursday night, I have soccer practice. Wednesday night is I have a doctor's appointment after school. Well, if you don't see that, how are you then going to plan to get that project done? All of a sudden, you're going to wake up on Sunday night and go, oh my goodness, it's due tomorrow.
Right.
I didn't know because I didn't realize all the things I had going on after school.
How does the parent, because again, we talked
How
about
does
this.
the parent?
Well, I mean, the concept of them, let's say the student says, I don't know how to do this. The parent shouldn't just come in and solve the problem, right? Does it go back to asking the questions?
I think it depends on how old the child is. I mean, we have the bigger planners that, that have only after school capabilities that are really geared like to 8, 9, 10, probably 4th grade and up.
Mm-hmm.
That student is going to need, some hand holding. They might not know when dance is. They might not know when their soccer practice is, but it's never too early to start the dialogue. But as a student gets older and you see your child doing it, I do like a parent, if they can, back off a little, and instead of telling, asking, do you know what time your soccer practice is? Do you know how long because it's not just the practice, how long is it going to take you to get there? Let's enter that into the planner.
Right.
I think it's hard for me to give a pat answer to something that's so unique for each child.
Well, let's simplify this one. Let's say someone doesn't get your planner and they just take a couple of household items or do a DIY.
Sure.
What are the 3 or 4 things? This is kind of maybe a summary as well of what a parent should do to help that student kind of learn this planning method.
Okay.
But also, take on responsibility at the same time. I know we're really talking about 2 things.
Well, it's funny. I'm a big family meeting girl because I'm going to give you an example. I worked with a client who the daughter was played on the varsity field hockey team at her school, and the parents wanted her to do it. It's wonderful, community and sisterhood and all that. But what they failed to take into account was there were other responsibilities that came along with being on that team. There were off-season practices. There were team dinners every night before a game. There were fundraising events that these girls had to go to. So I'm always you need to get all of that on a calendar. The parents knew about it, and the student didn't, knew about it, but nobody sat down to say, do we even have time for all that?
Right.
Or put it all on one calendar to see it. And by not doing that part, it really did affect her year because she had other commitments. So my first order of business is you must really know everything that is going on, not just they're playing a sport. What else do I have to take my child away for weekends to play away games? Like everything needs to go on first gather all your information.
Right.
Then put it all on one calendar visually so everybody sees it. So yes, a parent at the beginning, depending on the age, might have to sit with that student to help them put everything on a calendar.
Right. It's really interesting. A question I ask my wife on Sundays quite often in the evening, I say, what does your week look like?
What does your week look like?
And look like, that visual thing is, and some people, I think I'm a visual person, but I think that's a really strong connecting point there.
It's a great question. So that's why we want our students to see things in a week, because what does your week look like? And then there's even a place on the planner for them to write notes for the following week, because we want them to remember what's happening in the not now.
Right. Great. Well, Leslie, this has been a great 2 podcast series here.
Awesome.
And for someone who didn't watch the first one, go back and watch that. But before we go, I want you to tell us about, what kind of clients you work with. I mean, I know you got so much going on there, but if people want to get a hold of you, how do they find you?
Yeah. So here's the good news. We are 100% virtual at this point, which means I live in New York. You do not have to be from New York to work with us. We work with people all over the world. So they can go to the name of our company is Order Out of Chaos, but my website is orderoochaos.com. We work with both students and families. We work with parents as much we help parents with everything. If their child has been newly diagnosed with a learning disability, ADHD, some executive dysfunction, we do family education, all that kind of thing, as well as student coaching for, study skills, time management, organization.
Awesome. And we're going to have links for all that in our show notes, folks, and we'll let you know how you can get a hold of the academic planner. Well, Leslie, I think we have to have you back during midterms and not wait another, school season before we can talk to you again. And excited to see all these new products and working with you over the years. It's great. And
I love you guys.
We'll have you back on again. I know we will. So,
you're not getting rid of me so soon.
No. Well, folks, if you can keep up with Leslie, great. And go back in our archive and check some of our other podcasts out as well. So I think you've gotten a lot of good tips in the last 2 episodes about how to get your student focused on taking responsibility. It's a $1 million question like we posed in the first podcast episode of this, and we're moving forward. So we'll get back to school now, folks, and come back next time on Keeping You Organized.